there was a very strange report that a certain number of children from Gaza were transported from Gaza somehow or other to Bethlehem. I should point out that I can see Bethlehem in Hebrew. I can see Bethlehem from my kitchen window. And they were transported on a highway which runs right not far from where I live, apparently. And now this was apparently at the request or behest, I'm not sure how to word it, of the Germans.
Correct.
Which is curious. The Germans were not always known for concern for orphans and children, as
It's
I
domestic
recall.
politics again.
It's like the two-state solution in the Biden, I should say.
Correct. The Biden administration. Correct.
Two-state solution. In other words, Michigan and Arizona.
Yeah, Michigan, Arizona. That's correct. Actually, it should be Michigan and New Jersey.
Well, there's actually 3 or 4 states, whatever, 3 states apparently. Yes, Pennsylvania. Yeah, whatever. I don't know. Do you have any more information about this very strange event? How are the Germans involved in the first place? Second of all, why on earth would we agree to transfer these people to our in our midst and on our doorstep? Why, if you're concerned about these so-called orphans, you Germans, well,
take them.
Why don't you take them?
Take them.
Absorb them.
The Germans, the motivation for the Germans or the interest of the Germans appears to be self-interest, and they want, this is virtue signaling, that their government can, their left-wing government, mind you, can show to concerned leftists in Germany that they are doing something of a humanitarian nature to safeguard the lives of these poor abandoned orphans. Okay. It did come from the German government via the embassy. Now, the problem is trying to figure out who authorized this on our side, because it wasn't approved by the War Cabinet. It wasn't approved by the government. And every time yesterday, I kept asking
you know this for a fact?
Yes, I kept asking people yesterday in government, who authorized this? Somebody had to sign a piece of paper authorizing this, and no one knew. They kept pointing fingers like this. Well, he might have done it, or she might have done it, or somebody.
I don't know. It wasn't me.
It wasn't me. It wasn't me. And what I find obscene, there are 2 things. Once again, we don't have the backbone to say to the Germans, hey, you're concerned about these particular orphans. Fine, we understand that. Take them. We will allow them into Israel. We'll take them to Ben Gurion, and a German airplane can come, a government airplane can come, or a Luftwaffe, an Air Force plane can come, and take them to Germany. Go ahead. We'll facilitate that. Fine. The other thing that I find obscene is that we should have told the Germans flat out, we'll be more than happy to do this once our hostages are out, once our children are out, once the bodies of our victims are out. But we didn't do that. And again, this is why it's so terribly important to find out who authorized this. I have my suppositions right now that it was Gallant, because anything having to do with the army has to go through him. Has to. Not Eisenkot, not Gantz. The only person that has the authority to do this, to order the army, is Gallant. Now you have to understand that at the same time this was happening, there was an atrocity being committed by Israeli soldiers, police security forces, and the civil administration.
However, an atrocity not against Arabs, but against Jews.
Against Jews. A community called Or Ahuvia. named after a young man, Ahuvia Sandak, who was murdered by the police. And what they did was they tore apart this unauthorized community. And at least in the videos I saw, threw young girls off the roofs of their makeshift houses. They threw them off the roof, just tossed them like rags off the roof of their makeshift houses.
Dwellings,
if you will. Now, I want people to compare and contrast our humanitarian instincts towards the children of our enemies. A Kindertransport, if you will, for Nazi children out of a dying Berlin, if you could imagine that, and the brutality that was inflicted on our pioneers, our sacred pioneers in the territories by our government. And who do I blame for that in both cases? Yoav Gallant.
Minister
this is
of Defense,
typical of him in both cases.
Minister of Defense, who
the Minister of Defense
largely makes decisions with regards to such issues.
Correct. He had to sign off on both. He had to. There was nobody else. He had to sign off. So these are two faces, if you will, of our government and so-called government and our so-called military, where the military is more concerned about the welfare of Hamas's electorate, I'll put it that way, than they are about our Chayalim, our soldiers, or our pioneers in the territories. This is why I've called for military reform. We have to get them all out, all of them. They all have to go, if not to jail, then at least to a well-deserved obscurity.